It's June 28th, 2022, about 10 o'clock in the morning, and today I'm leaving Mount Desert Island. Yeah, I know. Why would I do that? Well, once a year I have a doctor's appointment in Bangor, and I am on my way there right now. And so it's about an hour and a half to drive to Bangor. It's about 55 miles, and the speed limits are all over the place. Right now, as I drive by Bass Harbor, I am in a 25 zone. I'm going to go into a 35 zone, and then a 45 zone, and then a 25 zone, and then up to 40, and then 50. And I think the highest speed limit I'm going to see on this trip is 55, but the speed limit goes up and down a lot between here and Bangor. So you vary speed a lot, and even though it's only 55 miles, it takes a while. So anyway, what I'm going to do is just show you various parts of the drive. Right now, I have pulled away from the harbor here in Bass Harbor, and I will, in just a couple of minutes, be passing this salt marsh. And when I get there, I pass into Southwest Harbor. So I don't think I'm going to take the camera off the mount today. This is going to be a driving video. So I'll come back when we get to the salt marsh. Well, here we are. This is where we cross the end of the salt marsh here. Can't see much in this view, but this is also the boundary between the town of Tremont, where Bass Harbor is located, and we are now in the town of Southwest Harbor, and we'll continue along here for about 5 miles in Southwest Harbor. Southwest Harbor is the geographically smallest town on Mount Desert Island. Tremont is the smallest in terms of population. So anyway, here we are, passing the first or second gas station, Gott Store. Gasoline, $5.25.9 for regular, and I think it was $6.09 for diesel. There was another gas station back in Bass Harbor where gas was $5.09.9. And there's one more gas station in Southwest Harbor. That's a Shell station right in town, and we'll see what the gas is there. So I'm going to stop until we're in Southwest Harbor, the town, not the sort of rural part of the town. Well, here we are coming into the main part of Southwest Harbor, right at the west end of the harbor right now. You can't see it in this view though. It's pretty flat today, and we have hit our 4th speed limit change. It's one thing you really need to watch when you're driving on and off of Mount Desert Island is the speed limit changes all the time. And there are, as I mentioned, 25 mile an hour zones, 30 mile an hour zones, 35 mile an hour zones, 40 mile an hour zones, 50 mile an hour zones, and 55 mile an hour zones between here and Bangor. So, and pretty much there are police everywhere, and this time of year they're happy to ticket you for exceeding the speed limit. Okay, we're driving through the southern part of Southwest Harbor. We're going south to north right now, and we will be in downtown in just a couple of minutes. No, not even that, 30 seconds. In a couple of minutes we'll be out of downtown Southwest Harbor. And here's an Island Explorer bus. They're running now, they just started. And you can get around a good deal of Mount Desert Island and Acadia National Park using the Island Explorer bus, and it is free. And I highly recommend it. particularly if you want to go to a carriage road or something like that, because parking at the carriage roads from now through September is going to be really tough. And in most cases, unless you get there really early in the morning, you simply won't find a spot. Well, this is downtown Southwest Harbor. We're almost out of town, or out of downtown. And now we're out of downtown. We're going to pass the next gas station, the last one on this part of the island, until we get to Soamesville. We'll see how much gas is there. What I'm going to do during this video is kind of look at gas prices as we drive from Mount Desert Island into Bangor. So this video is going to be the drive from Bass Harbor on MDI to Bangor. I'm not going to shoot the reverse. It's basically the same thing in reverse. So but we will see what the variation in gas price is. So far, it's 16 cents a gallon for regular gas. Now here's the Shell station in Southwest Harbor, and let's see what its gas price is. $4.98.9. Okay, so we've got a 27-cent price variation in Bass Harbor and Tremont per gallon. So quite a range. And we've got 2 more gas stations we're going to pass on the island, and then quite a few on the way into Bangor. Okay, I'll pick this up again when we get to Soamesville. We're about halfway between Southwest Harbor and Soamesville right now, and you can see all the cars parked beside the road. Those are people taking one of the trails here in Acadia National Park, which is on both sides of the road right here. And off on the left side, we're about 100 yards from Echo Lake. And in just a little bit, the road is going to come right down to Echo Lake. And I guess I'll keep this on until we get there. One of the things that this road does is go in and out of Acadia National Park as you drive along. We're out of Acadia National Park now. There aren't always signs indicating when you're in the park and when you're out of the park. You just sort of need to know. Here is our closest approach to Echo Lake. You can just see it over there. It's about 10 feet from the road here. Alrighty. I'm 18 minutes from home, and we are just entering Soamesville. And we were in a 50-mile-per-hour zone going past Echo Lake, and now the speed limit has dropped initially to 35 and now 25 as we go through Soamesville. And I'll keep with this until we get out of Soamesville, unless I miss the stoplight. No point in filming sitting at a stoplight. There are, this time of year, I believe 4 stoplights on Mount Desert Island. So, and we're going to go through 2 of them today. The other 2 are over in Bar Harbor. Here's the Mill Pond in Soamesville. We're right at the north end of Soames Sound. And I will put a map in at the beginning of the video showing you what this trip is. So we'll be out of Soamesville in about 2 minutes, and then we just drive through sort of right up the middle of the island up to the northern end. And as I said, we are currently just coming up on 20 minutes since I left home. And we're probably about 12 miles from my house. And here's the stoplight. the first of two that we're going to pass through on the island. And I think we're going to miss this one. So, yeah, maybe not. I don't think we'll be here long. It's been red since I first saw it. Oh, there we go. And this is the last gas station we're going to pass until we get right up to the northern end of the island. And let's see how much gas is here. Ooh, $4.91. So that means there's a 34-cent price range so far on Mount Desert Island. And the Soamesville Shell Station is the cheapest place so far. And we'll see what happens as we get further north. Next stop is going to be Town Hill, which is a village in the town of Bar Harbor, up near the north end of the island. Well, here we are in Town Hill. We are 4 minutes past Soamesville, so it's a pretty short drive. And Town Hill is, you come into a 35-mile-per-hour zone, and it drops down to 30 for about 150 yards as we go past the sort of core of Town Hill here, where the fire hall and the Town Hill Market right here are located. Oh, don't pull out in front of me. These buses are stop all the time, so it's kind of a nuisance to be behind one. Okay, and here we go. Speed limit's going back up to 35 as we go down the hill from the upper part of Town Hill to the lower part, where we will find the lumberyard, the only lumberyard on the island, and a couple of other businesses, but not much. The western side of Mount Desert Island, or basically I guess I should say Mount Desert Island, outside of Bar Harbor and Northeast Harbor, has very little in the way of businesses. There's our newest RV park we just passed. It's a glamping park, very expensive, and also very fancy. If you want to spend a couple $100 a night to stay in an RV park on Mount Desert Island. And here's the other commercial area, a little hardware store, a local lumberyard. And as I said, this is it as far as lumberyards go on the island. The next one is in Ellsworth, and the speed limit goes back up to 50 for just a little bit because we're almost at the north end of the island. Okay, we're just about ready to leave Mount Desert Island, and we're coming up to the second stoplight, where we're going to turn left. If we wanted to go over to Bar Harbor, we could turn right here. It's kind of the long way to go to get to Bar Harbor. And you can see why this stoplight is here. Lots of traffic, particularly this time of year. You know, winter, not so much. Now, the two stoplights that we're passing through on this trip on Mount Desert Island operate all year. There are two more. One, if we turn right, where the turnoff to go up to the National Park Visitor Center is located, and the other one in Bar Harbor. Those two are seasonal. They do not operate in the winter. They're just flashing lights. Hey, here we go. Our fourth gas station, $4.95, but that's a cash price, and credit is $5. The other gas stations were indifferent as to whether you paid cash or credit. And we are now off of Mount Desert Island and on to Thompson Island, which is really connected basically by causeway to Mount Desert Island. And then we're going to come up to the bridge and go on to the mainland. So we are just, and there is a little bit of Acadia National Park right here. There is a picnic area on the right. And that's the last of Acadia National Park that we're going to see in this video. And here we are crossing the bridge between Mount Desert, or Thompson Island, Mount Desert Island, and the mainland. And we are now on the mainland. And this is the first time I've been off the island for quite a while. And basically we've got about 10 miles to go, and we will be in the metropolis of Ellsworth, the county seat of Hancock County, where Mount Desert Island is located, and the biggest city in Hancock County with about 6,500 people. Well, I just thought I'd come back and tell you a little bit about the drive from the point where you'll leave Mount Desert Island until you get to Ellsworth. It's a 2-lane road, and it's we just passed another gas station with gas for $4.79. So that we're now up to a 46 cent a gallon range, which is pretty substantial. This strip of road has a number of small motels and businesses and several gas stations that we're going to pass. But it is a 2-lane road, and most of it you're not going to be able to pass on, particularly this time of year. It's quite busy, and the speed limit goes up and down a bit. In the winter, the speed limit here is 50, but they tend to lower it to 45 in the summer. And so if you live here and you go in and out of Ellsworth frequently, you can get caught by the lower summer speed limit if you kind of forget about it. Now in the winter, they swap this sign out and it says 50. So it's an interesting drive. And we're in, a good deal of traffic as people are heading toward MDI and Acadia National Park here. This is the only road that goes to Acadia National Park. Well, we're coming into Ellsworth now, and we're kind of in the upper part of Ellsworth. 486.9 for gas here. And what we're going to do is you have to go right and head past the Ellsworth big box stores, all 2 of them, and continue, and then we'll come to a stoplight up here where we'll turn left, and we'll go over into what's called Uptown in Ellsworth, which is a sort of commercial strip where the supermarkets are located and where the various other sort of tourist oriented businesses are located. And it doesn't take long. We do have to go through a number of stoplights though. This is about the 5th stoplight that I've encountered here in Ellsworth so far. And this is, where we're going to pass, the auto parts stores, various other businesses, restaurants, etc. And if you're heading onto Mount Desert Island, Ellsworth is the last place that you can get fast food in the traditional fast food sense. McDonald's, that sort of thing. There's McDonald's and Wendy's and a couple of other places here There used to be a Burger King, but last time I was here, it had gone out of business. So, as I said, there are two supermarkets here, Hannaford and Shaw's. They're the principal supermarkets you're going to find in most of Maine. You're not going to find any of your fancy supermarkets, your Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or anything like that up here. Just your more generic supermarkets. Okay, this is Uptown. As I said, it's about about a mile long, and then we're going to get to Main Street, which is perpendicular to this street, which is called High Street. We're past the main part of Uptown, and this is the intersection with Main Street. And we can, if we turn left here, we will go down toward Camden, Belfast, Rockport, and if we keep going that way, we're going to pass the turnoffs to go to Booth Bay and places like that, the mid-coast. And this is Route 1 if you turn left. But we're going to head toward Bangor instead, which is just going straight through. And turning right here just takes you into residential Ellsworth, with the exception of this to the right is where the Ellsworth Hospital is located. Now, I'm not going to continue recording once we get out of here. The next thing we're going to hit in Ellsworth still is another sort of commercial strip with a lumber yard and a number of other shops. I believe there's a Dunkin' Donuts, you know, just that sort of business. And then we will fairly quickly be out of the commercial part of Ellsworth, although we'll stay in the town of Ellsworth for quite a while. Okay, I'm a few minutes out of Ellsworth now, and I've hit the high-speed stretch of this drive. There's about a 15-mile stretch where the speed limit is 55, and the highway is the closest thing you're going to see on this stretch between Mount Desert Island and Bangor to an actual divided highway. I mean, it isn't divided, but we do have some stretches with 2 lanes on one side and 1 lane on the other. It sort of alternates back and forth, so you can actually pass people occasionally. And we are currently 42 minutes from home. Well, this is the Bangor to Mount Desert Island version of a superhighway. We've got 2 lanes on this side, 1 on the other, and it oscillates back and forth. And still 55 mile per hour speed limit. This is the most rural section of the drive. It's quite hilly in here for about 3 or 4 miles, and we're going to pass a spot called Lucerne, which has quite a nice view looking out over the hills, and there's a little lake up here which is called Lake Lucerne. And we're about 10 or 12 minutes out of Ellsworth, and here's the first spot where our multi-lane disappears on this side and comes back in on the other side of the highway. There are 3 or 4 sort of transitions, and you can see it's quite hilly in here compared to closer to the coast where it's really quite flat. finished the power line upgrades. All these poles you see on the right hand side of the road are new. Last time I came through here, they were working on them. They had this road down to one lane with stops where they'd let you through. And I mean one lane, not one lane each way. So it's nice that it's done now that the summer traffic is starting to show up. So we go through this hilly section for a while, and then we will head down toward Brewer and the Penobscot River. We've probably got about 7 or 8 miles to go before we get to the Penobscot River. But this is a nice stretch right here with the hills and forested hills and all that. And kind of a pleasant drive. Okay, we're approaching the outskirts of Brewer. Right now we're in the town of Holden, which is sort of a long, narrow town. And I thought I came back because I'm now 1 hour and 2 minutes from home. And we're about a little over 40 miles from my house. Took an hour and 2 minutes. And we're in a 45-mile-per-hour zone here. The speed limit, though, has been sort of bouncing up and down. We're not going to go much further before we get to the terminus of Interstate 395, which is the bypass for Bangor. And I want to tell you that if you are coming into Bangor and you see 395, which in most places would be a bypass to go around a metropolitan area, and you're heading north past Bangor, don't take it, because it bypasses Bangor, but then it just ends. And right up here, we're going to go past the end of 395. However, if you are heading toward Acadia National Park and you drive up the interstate to Bangor, you do want to take 395 so that you can get onto this road, which goes straight to Mount Desert Island and Acadia National Park. And right up here is the end of Interstate 395. The gas has gone back up. It's running, for credit, a little over $5 a gallon here. So I am going to say, go out on a limb and say that if you're headed toward Mount Desert Island and you're planning to be there for a week or so, your best bet is to buy gas in Ellsworth, where you're going to be able to pick up gas right now for about $4.80 to $4.85 a gallon, depending on where you stop. So here we go, 395, and which goes down to Interstate 95. And this is the end of the road, right up here. And we are now going into the town of Brewer. Now, Brewer and Bangor are sort of companion towns. Brewer is on the east side of the Penobscot River, and Bangor is on the west side. So we're going to drive through the sort of commercial part of Brewer, and then we are going to drive through Bangor. But I have to make a stop here before we get there. So, all right, I finished my stop. Pretty good time. Took about 10 minutes. And now we are in the town of Brewer, And we've got a little commercial strip here where unless you're going into Bangor and Brewer, you're probably not going to go this way. But I have 3 stops that this is the most effective way to go to get to. So I got to go through here, and you can see what this part of Brewer looks like. Okay, GoPro is acting up, and it kept shutting off on me, so I think I missed most of commercial Brewer. And we're driving through a little residential strip before we get to the Penobscot River. Now, the Penobscot River is navigable up to Bangor and Brewer. And back in the 18th century, schooners used to come up here. They would either ride the tide up because it's tidal all the way up here, or a little later in the 19th century, they would be towed up by steamboats. And you can find sort of historical pictures of a steamboat towing a bunch of schooners up the river or down the river, because the tidal aspect would make it difficult to get out of here on a single tide. So anyway, these 2 towns, Bangor and Brewer, were mill towns, lumber mill towns, for lumber that they used to float down the river from where they cut it. Further up in northern Maine, the Penobscot River goes way up into the interior of Maine, and there's a lot of forest up there, and particularly in the spring there would be log drives down the river to the mills here, and that was a large part of what happened in this part of Maine back in the 19th century. And later on there were pulp mills built, and they're almost all gone. I believe there's still one up here at just north of Bangor, like just a few miles north of Bangor. And we're going to we won't be going past it. I don't know if it's still running. Most of the pulp mills in this part of Maine went out of business over the last 20 years or so, and so that is not a significant part of the economy in this part of Maine anymore. It used to be a major part of the economy, and there were a number of mill towns north of here, Millinocket and Lincoln among others, that are pretty much dead now because the mills closed. There were attempts to get the mills to reopen, and they've gone through a number of incarnations, but I'm pretty sure most of them are closed now. So that's been quite a change for the economy of sort of central and northern Maine. And we're just now headed down to the bridge over the Penobscot River. And once we go across the bridge, we will be in Bangor. And I have 1 hour until my appointment. So I'm going to make one of my other stops before that. I've got 2 stops in addition to my doctor's appointment today here in Bangor. So we're just about in Bangor. As soon as we get off this bridge, we will be there. And this is the sort of edge of downtown Bangor. Left is where most of downtown Bangor is located. And we're gonna head away from downtown here and go past the principal hospital for this part of Maine, basically for all of northern Maine. It's called Eastern Maine Medical Center. Well, this is coming up on the Eastern Maine Medical Center here in Bangor. It is the principal hospital for all of northern Maine, north of Augusta. And it's grown considerably since we first came to this part of the country about 25 years ago, and it's pretty easy to tell what the new parts are and what the old parts were from looking at the changing architectural style. So quite a variety of building styles in here, and parts of it I think go back probably at least 100 years. So we're going to drive through Bangor for a while up here, and go to my doctor's appointment. And I'll show you the drive through Bangor until I get to the doctor's office. Right now we're coming into Bangor from the kind of north, and or actually east, and because I had to do an errand at a little town called Veasey just east of here, but that's taken care of, and now I have about 20 minutes until my appointment, so I decided just to head over here. I still have one more errand to do here in Bangor after my doctor's appointment, but that's gonna be, didn't have time for it before the appointment. So we're down here in kind of on the edge of downtown Bangor, and so we've got some businesses on one side and a few small businesses on the other side, and then residential Bangor. And we're going to go up here and make a turn to the right and go through the residential part of Bangor that is north of downtown. So and Bangor is a relatively old town. It goes back at least 150 years. So you'll see quite a range of styles of homes here. Okay, this is our turn right up here. And this is the road right here that comes across the bridge across the Penobscot River from Brewer. But as I said, I had to run an errand east of here in the next town. So normally if I was going to my doctor's appointment, I would have just come straight up this road, but today I did not. So here we go. And we are going to drive up here past the Bangor High School, and basically get up here a block or so and it becomes all residential. And on the left we have the Bangor High School, quite an old building actually. I don't know how old exactly. And we have some people that apparently don't know where they're going. And here we go into the more residential part of Bangor, and this is kind of the upper end residences, so big old houses. And just a block or two from here, I'm not going to go by it, but just a block or two from here is the author Stephen King's home. He lives here in Bangor when he's not down in Florida, which is where his winter place is located. And we're just going to continue up here through residential Bangor. And we'll just wanted to show you what this part of the town looks like. And this is an older part of residential Bangor, as you can probably tell from what you can see of the houses here. Pretty much all of these houses are probably pre-1900. Drive up here past a little park on both sides. get further from the Penobscot River and downtown, we're going to get into a mix of smaller and a little bit newer homes. Okay, here we go. And I think my turn is the second street. Yes, this is it. Right here. Well, finished there, and headed now out toward the current primary commercial part of Bangor, which is the area around Stillwater Avenue on the other side of Interstate 95. And we're right now on Stillwater Avenue, headed toward Interstate 95, which I don't know if we go under or over on this particular road, and then we will go through the main commercial area, because the spot I'm headed for is kind of at the far side of it, so you get to see pretty much all of Bangor's current main commercial activity. So we're going to see lots and lots of stores and other businesses out here. Okay, I think this overpass ahead is Interstate 95, which here in Bangor is a 4-lane highway. And you can see there's a fair amount of traffic up there. Okay, here we go. When I first started coming to Bangor, almost 40 years ago, basically none of what we're going to see now was here. What there was out here then was the Bangor Mall and a few kind of peripheral businesses. Some restaurants and a bookstore, that sort of thing. And most of them are either gone or have changed their name or ownership. But everything else out here, everything to the left and most of the stuff to the right, was not here. So this is all built up in the last 35 years or so. And there's a lot of stuff that simply wasn't here. In terms of businesses, like there's a Chipotle restaurant off to the right and a Chick-fil-A, neither of which I actually have ever seen before. I think they're even relatively new out here. The buildings look fairly new. And then we have a bunch of other businesses. As we go up here, off to the left, there are a number of big box stores that weren't here, and basically off to the left was the field before. And as you can see, this is kind of slow going through here, but we're going to go all the way past pretty much all the commercial activity here to the very last bit of it, to go to a natural food store, because my wife has given me a list of things that only they carry that I'm supposed to buy. And the remains of the Bangor Mall are off to the right, and the parking lot is essentially empty. There are only 3 or 4, maybe half a dozen stores that are still open over there. The mall is a kind of dead zone. And we drove through there the last time we were in Bangor, in the parking lot. Well, the road around the perimeter of the mall was in horrible condition. Things have really gone downhill. Okay, lots of sort of businesses that I think you'd see anywhere, you know, auto parts stores, etc. I mean, for someone coming off Mount Desert Island, this seems like a hubbub of commercial activity, but I guess if you're from a big city, this seems pretty low-key. But as I said, I live in a town with no stores at all, one gas station, and 2 restaurants. So, you know, this is many times the total business activity in Bass Harbor. Any one of these turns here into a little strip mall has got 4 or 5 times as much commercial activity as Bass Harbor has. Okay, we're just about out of that commercial hubbub. We've got another couple blocks to go, and we will be at my destination, the natural food store. Okay, I'm finished with my shopping here in Bangor. I'm probably going to grab a quick lunch on the way out of town. But other than that, that is my trip to Bangor from Mount Desert Island today, June 28, 2022. I hope you enjoyed this trip to Bangor, and you can see what cosmopolitan Maine looks like here in the Megacity. I say that because Bangor is Maine's 2nd largest city, with a population approaching 40,000. It's amazing that many people live in one city. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And for more of my exciting content, well, why don't you subscribe to my channel? And I'll say thanks for watching.